Hello everyone, welcome to another live video. Now usually I talk just about narcissists, which I have been doing for the last 6.5 years. But what I'm going to be doing in this video is talking about my experience and what I've been through, which is actually not something that I've spoken about much over the past 6.5 years that I've been doing this, because of course I wanted to make it more about the viewers. I wanted to make it more about you guys and helping you from what you've been through. But someone mentioned to me before, a few months ago, to talk about my story. And I thought about it. I thought it could be helpful. So yeah, here I am. I'm going to talk about my story, my personal experience in this video. And why I'm 35. I'm gonna be 36 in 2 months. And I've never been married. I've got no house, no car, no savings. I'm going to explain it all in this video. And I do hope that you will get something out of it. I hope that it can help you. So, yeah, let's start at the very beginning in my childhood. Now, my childhood was very abnormal. It was very strange, very unusual. From the very beginning, the stories that I've heard from my family, when I was just 3 months old, at a circus, I was already dropped on the front of my head. And if you can see here, I still have the scar. It's like a lightning bolt shape, similar to Harry in Harry Potter. So yeah, at the circus, I was dropped on my head, on the front of my head. My mother was carrying me and she tripped over something and I fell out of her arms and landed on the front of my head, and then I was rushed to hospital. So that was the very beginning of my life. And there was many other near-death experiences. There was another one that I was told about where I was not even a couple of years old, and somehow I crawled out of the house, out of the front door of the house, and then I crossed a main road before my family then realized that I was gone. And we had a long driveway. So it must have taken me quite a bit of time to crawl out of the house and to cross the main road. And not only that, but it's a miracle that I didn't get hit by a car. And it's surprising that no one even saw that there was a toddler crawling across a road on their own. And yeah, there was many other events, many other injuries that I suffered throughout my childhood. One important one to mention is that I was molested, sexually abused as a child, as I've spoken about in past videos. And I was just 4 years old, sexually abused by my older sister, who I believe was about 8 years old at the time. And although for many people these memories are suppressed, for me, I remember it very vividly, as if it happened just yesterday. I remember that I was in my sister's room and I thought we were just playing innocently as we normally do. But then all of a sudden, we were under the covers and the lights were off, and my sister was naked and she exposed herself to me. And then she tried to pull my head between her legs. And of course, a child at that age, I was horrified. I was so frightened. And then I ran downstairs to find my mother and my sister sitting in the lounge talking together. And I explained to them, I said, my sister's name, I said that she's being rude. And my mother and my sister looked at me, and there wasn't even any look of concern on their faces. They didn't even care. It didn't even bother them. And then they just carried on talking. And I don't remember what happened after that. I'm assuming that I probably just went to my room. And for the rest of that day, I was likely to be very upset after going through that. And it wasn't the last time that I was sexually abused. I was abused sexually again when I was around 10 years old. I was abused by my father's girlfriend at the time in front of her own son. And it was very forceful. She pinned me to the ground and then she put her hand down my trousers and grabbed my penis in front of my father and their son together. And of course, all of these things that happened in my childhood, where I had no boundaries, it caused me to experience a lot of abuse throughout my life. I was abused by teachers. I remember one teacher hitting me in front of the entire class. And another time, even the headmaster came into the classroom and grabbed me by my hair, dragged me to his office. I went through a lot of abuse as a child, and a lot of people saw it. And rather than trying to stop it, they just joined in. So those are just some of the highlights of my childhood, some of the things that I had to go through. And then as I got older, when I was about 11 years old, then I moved in with my father. That's when I experienced a lot of abuse, a lot of control, physical violence, and sometimes it was very extreme, to where I had cuts and bruises, nosebleeds. I went through all sorts of things, and there was a lot of isolation. I couldn't go out with my friends. I couldn't have a girlfriend. I couldn't do anything. And it was a very lonely experience. I was abused and neglected throughout my childhood, throughout my teenage years. And then as I got older, I had no support. I was being neglected, and everyone could see it. Everyone could see that something wasn't right, as though I wasn't given the support that I should have been given from a very young age. And then I ended up being stalked by a lot of people, and this Twitter page about me is still available online. They made a Twitter parody page when I had one of my first girlfriends when I was 22. I lost my virginity when I was 22. And I had a girlfriend, and I had all of these people following me around, stalking me. Even now, there's a picture of me in my car at the time with the girl that I was with back then. And they were just following me wherever I went, taking pictures, posting them up online so that everyone can just comment on them and make fun of me. And yeah, that was a very difficult thing to go through. Especially since everyone could see I had no protection, no support network. It's like everyone in the town knew that I was living with my father, and he was living in a multi-million-pound mansion. He had all of these cars, 2 brand new Aston Martins, Mercedes AMG. And then there was me with my car parked outside this multi-million-pound mansion with all of his cars. And my car was about 5 years old. It got to a point where it couldn't even start anymore. And rather than buying a new car, he ended up spending more money than it would have cost to get a new car just to repair that one. Because it's almost like he enjoyed other people humiliating me and laughing at me and just thinking that I'm nothing. And I still remember to this day, one day this multi-millionaire, 22-year-old Premier League footballer moved in next door to us. We lived in a street where we had 3 Premier League football managers living on that same street of 6 houses. And so a footballer, just 22 years old, moved in next door into this multi-million-pound house. And he had all of these cars, a Mercedes AMG, a Bentley Continental GT. And the moment he moved in, it was so strange. My father just dragged him into the house just to see me. And I don't know if he knew that I heard, but as he was bringing him into the house, he said to him, "Oh, come see how big he is." Almost as though the moment that he met this person, he was putting me down to him. Maybe because he saw him as a threat and he was worried just in case we become friends. So, yeah, from a very young age, there was all of this alienation. I was made to feel like an outsider, made to feel like a nothing. But in my mind, I always knew that I was going to be something. I knew somehow I was going to figure it out. And I met a few girls, had a few relationships. I wanted to marry them, but they didn't want to marry me. They wanted to go out and meet other boys, go to clubs. So, despite all of my efforts, I was still alone. And then one day, I was watching Sam Vaknin's videos, who is a professor and an expert on narcissistic abuse. So I found out about narcissistic abuse, and I was researching about it for about 6 months, to where I then created this channel, where you're watching this video now. And yeah, I worked very hard on this channel. It took me about 5 months to become monetized, to where I was then earning about £2,000 a month. And then within 1 year of creating the channel, I had 30,000 subscribers, and I was earning £5,000 a month. And this didn't come easy. I had to work very hard. I mean, I was working 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week to get it to that point. And then the moment that I was making good money, or I was making £5,000 a month, I was feeling very lonely, and because my entire town alienated me, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. But then someone found me from the US. They emailed me, they found me on YouTube. And they were telling me about their problems with their parents. And I thought it was innocent. I was feeling lonely at the time, so I paid for a flight, and I paid for all of their luggage as well. I think I paid about £1,500 for a flight from Hawaii to the UK. And then another £2,000 for all of her luggage. Which is stupid of me, I know, but I was lonely at the time, and I felt like I had no other option. Like I had no one else to talk to, and this person seemed to get it at the time. They seemed to understand. So then I met this person, and I was thinking short term. I wasn't thinking about long term. She told me that she's infertile. She went to a doctor and she tried to have babies with her ex for years, but she couldn't. And I think she also said she was on the pill as well. The first night that we met, we slept together. And I wasn't thinking anything of it. I wasn't expecting anything to happen. But it's like, it was so late at night and I was half asleep, just laying down. She was giving me a blowjob. And I thought, all right, it's going to end now, this is it. But then, right at the end, then she got on top of me. She wanted me to ejaculate. Even without protection. And she knew, she knew that she was not infertile. Clearly that's why she did it. So then she ended up getting pregnant. And she called me her boyfriend. I told her, I'm not your boyfriend. I wasn't looking for a relationship long term. And I even said to her, why can't you get an abortion? She said she didn't want to. So then I'm stuck in this situation, having to have a child when I didn't even want one. When I explained to this girl, before we met, I told her on Skype, I said, I don't want children. I wouldn't want to bring a child into this world because there's so much suffering in this world. And she also said she didn't want children, but despite that, I then got tricked into having a child. And yeah, before we met, we talked about on Skype, we both wanted to travel. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Maybe we can go traveling together. And she mentioned to me about these apartments in Thailand with a pool that only cost £200 a month. So that sounded good to me. But then gradually, she wanted more and more expensive things, designer clothes, £150 just for foundation, makeup. Just extreme things, cost a lot of money. And it got to a point where we ended up spending £160,000 in 1 year. And that year I only earned £110,000. And yeah, I got scammed by a lot of people. I found out that it seems most people in this world just want to use you. They just want to take advantage of you. And yeah, I experienced all sorts of problems, even in Thailand as well. I went there and they could see that I had money. I noticed the police were following me around a lot, constantly giving me fines and making excuses about my car, saying it was too loud when it wasn't. And then they they came and arrested me after we had an argument, being the girl that I was with at the time, because she wanted to spend more and more money, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have that much money to spend, and I was working 10 hours a day when we were supposed to be on a vacation. And yet she wanted me to go out with her throughout the day when I'm supposed to be working. She would rush me with the work. And I'm thinking, how can we spend all the money with no work? But she kept pushing me. And then she wanted to drive the cars with no insurance, no driver's license. I was very worried about that. She just wanted to spend ridiculous amounts of money all the time. 5-star hotels, villas, things that I never wanted to do. I wanted to live affordably and save for the future. And it got to a point where I realized with all of the fights, I experienced so much physical abuse. I've got so many pictures and videos on my phone where I'm covered in bruises from head to toe, covered in blood. And so I knew that at some point I have to stop this. I have to leave her alone, because we had a daughter then at the time who was about 1 year old when we were in Thailand. And I didn't want her to see all of that, all of the fights, all of the abuse. So then I walked out, but then she called the police, got me taken to court. I had to spend about $600 for a lawyer, and their advice was just for me to plead guilty, not to fight for my case of why I'm trying to leave. And then they forced me to stay with her, to go back with her. And I just started again. Then she just abused me even more. And then there was another court case. And then I left again, and then she had the police to come after me. They arrested me. I was in the immigration for 5 weeks in Thailand, and the people there, they conned me, they scammed me out of a large portion of my savings, and also because they kept me in there for 5 weeks, I ended up losing all of my earnings from YouTube. Before I went into the immigration, I was earning £11,000 a month just from the ad revenue alone. Following being in the immigration, when I came out and I was deported back to the UK, but they didn't mention anything about the girl that I was with, or how I had left her, or what she said I abandoned her in Thailand. They told me that I overstayed, which wasn't even true. I was legally there on a visa. So their story didn't make any sense, and it seemed like they just wanted to get my money. And they were working together with my ex to get money out of me without even thinking about our 1-year-old daughter and what she's going to do in the future. So they did that to me. They deported me back to the UK, and I went from earning £11,000 a month just from the ad revenue on YouTube to then earning just £3,000 a month. And then gradually it just got worse and worse as the years went by. And despite all of the money that I spent on her, we spent about £250,000 in 2 years. It was all about what she wanted, and the one thing I had was just a car. Because I thought, why not get a nice car for myself? I work up to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week for years. So I thought, why not get a car for myself and we can use it, since now I have a baby. So we need the car so that we can go around, and she always wanted to go on trips. I took her to every city in the entire United Kingdom. There's hundreds of cities everywhere in the UK, as well as Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, multiple times. I took her everywhere. Expensive cars, 5-star hotels, villas, £250,000 in 2 years. And I didn't even make anywhere near that much in the 2 years. It was from the money I earned before I even met her as well, my savings. So I lost all of that, and despite that, she was still angry, she still wanted more. She even stole from me. She stole about over £5,000 while we were together. And after we broke up, somehow she got into my card and stole another £12,000 credit card fraud without my permission. And even after that, then I had child support coming after me. And I paid £10,000 in 1 year for child support. That year, I probably earned less than £20,000 myself. So it was half of my earnings. To the point where last year I was told to pay £750 a month. Last year I earned maybe about £20,000. And to this day, now I'm lucky to earn just £1,000 a month. So it's a real struggle. And this is after, we're almost in 2025 now. I began my channel in August 2018. I first began researching about narcissistic abuse in January 2018. And now we're coming up to January 2025. So that's 7 years of work, up to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I've got nothing to show for it, other than, of course, my work and the help that I've given to people, which is very important to me. But yeah, I stay in a very cheap room, and there's still the remnants of a life that I used to live. These old Ray-Bans here, and my wallet where I used to have a ton of cash. I used to be carrying up to $5,000 at a time in this wallet, and I was practically empty. And also my laptop, a $4,000 laptop that I use to produce my videos, with a Alienware back. So still got the remnants and of the life that I used to live. But a lot of it is all gone. A lot of my possessions, my clothes, my designer clothes. I used to have gold chains, everything. All of that was stolen from me. It was all robbed. All of the money, everything. My business was destroyed. And now I'm left with a ton of debt. My father forced me to go to university. When I was 19, I didn't even want to go, but I did it for him. And of course, he told me he would take care of it. He's a multi-millionaire. So I went to university. I graduated. He didn't even show up to the graduation. And I thought it was all dealt with, the fees. But then when I was about 30 years old, this was 10 years after I graduated, then I received a letter from student loans. And it seems that my father just left it to me with all of the interest piled up for me to deal with. Over £10,000 of debt. And also when I was 17, our old neighbor passed away, who was a church minister, a very good friend of mine. I knew him since I was just 5 years old, when I lived next door to him and his wife. So yeah, I knew him until I was 17. That was 12 years, and then he passed away. So he left all of his savings to me in his inheritance, which was £10,000 at the time, and that was taken by my father as well. Never saw it again. So yeah, that's been my experience, is that people just trick me. They pretend that they're the same as me and they want to grow with me. And either one day they just leave and then they go and meet some of the boys, or they go clubbing, or they just rob me, they use me, and then when I stop giving in, then they attack me, physically abuse me, and they call the police, they get me arrested, they get me into trouble. They make me out to be a criminal, when I've spent all of this money on people trying to help them. And not only that, but I'm giving them all of my love. I mean, I remember with the girls that I was with, every day, for hours, listening to all of their problems. They weren't even arguments, because I would just sit there and I wouldn't even say anything, just listening to it, sometimes all night until the morning, without any sleep. And then the next morning, I'm expected to work all day. And also with my work, of course, is to do with other people's problems as well. And then there's never any time for me to unwind. And especially now, I mean, it's very difficult. I have to stay in a very cheap room. And there's no support for me, other than your donations, of course. I haven't even got a car. I haven't had a car for about 1 year. And I have to eat very cheap food every day. So just everything is all around difficult. And despite that, even though I live a very mediocre life, with no wife, no marriage, no house, no car, no savings, I'm still working over 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to make less than $1,000 a month. Even in third world countries, it seems some people are earning more than me. Even though I'm a famous YouTuber with 190,000 subscribers and over 50 million views. An intelligent person who put in a lot of work. I've been nearly 7 years, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And it's like, this is what I get, this is what I deserve. And yet at the same time, I made out as though I never did anything for anyone. I get my ex contacting me all the time, child maintenance, telling me I've got to keep up with the payments. £750 a month. That's over $1,000 a month. I don't even earn that myself. And yet that's what I'm supposed to pay. And I got to pay that now for another 14 years until my child turns 18. And not only that, I'm not even allowed to see the child, because she made up this thing where she said that I assaulted her when really I was in an abusive relationship with her for 2 years. And I've got all of the pictures and videos on my phone covered in cuts and bruises, blood. And yeah, despite that, despite all of my sacrifices, all of the abuse that I had to endure, I can't even see my own child. I haven't seen my own child for 3 years. And that's a separate thing on its own. I did some research about it. And there isn't much information on the pain that a father feels from being away from his own daughter. It's horrible. And of course, since she's not with me, from what I've heard, she developed a mental illness and she was diagnosed with autism. And she's 4.5 years old. She hasn't even spoken her first words yet. She can't even speak full sentences. So all of this is happening, all of this is going on, and I haven't got the money to take care of my own daughter anymore. And of course, I worked very hard so that I could take care of her, so that I could take care of a child that initially I never even wanted to have a child. And then I thought, you know, I can't control it. If someone doesn't want to have an abortion, I'm forced to have a child, then I just got to make the best of it. So I've worked very hard for all of those years. And despite that, it's a struggle to even take care of myself. And yet I've been taking care of everyone else. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I meet girls who want to meet for short term. But that's just it. I mean, what woman is going to take you seriously when you haven't got a stable income? When you're not earning good money to even take care of yourself properly? So they just see me as that type of guy for short term. Even though I was more the type of guy for long term. I mean, that's why I worked very hard. To set myself up and my child for life. So that my child could be, I mean, well, my child was the daughter of a millionaire at one point. A self-made millionaire who worked very hard. Even though I had no support from my own multi-millionaire father who neglected me my entire life. And I just had to make it on my own. I had to figure it all out by myself. And despite that, despite all of my hard work, I'm left with no wife, no marriage, no friends, no money, no savings, no house, no car. A daughter that I haven't seen for 3 years, who now has a mental illness, autism, when I tried to make everything perfect. And I mean, I sacrificed everything, all of my time, energy, money. I slaved away. Even after the treatment that I had throughout my life, where I was molested by my own family throughout my childhood. And neglected by my father as a teenager and as a young adult. Despite that, I still put the work in, and not just for myself, but more for others. And that's what I get back. This is what I get back. This room. This laptop, which is years old now. So you can't see it, but underneath the lid, it's all worn. And the screen is all scratched. And it struggles to produce the videos that I need to make. And also I'm using an iPhone 14 Pro Max, which I bought about over two and a half years ago now. Which, you know, it's not a bad phone. But for someone who was once earning £11,000 a month, just in ad revenue, I mean, almost $20,000 a month in total. After I worked all of those years, 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this is what I've got to show for it now. It's really sad. But despite that, I'm not someone who complains. I'm not someone who plays the victim. I mean, most of these things happened years ago now. As I said, my daughter's 4 years old. I haven't seen her for 3 years. And the last time I was earning that £11,000 a month ad revenue, that was in November, December 2021. And even with a low income, I've been paying the child support now since January 2023. So all of this has been going on for a long time. And I've been staying in rooms normally much smaller than this. Usually I stay in a room where it's just this, just with the bed and no TV. Usually a smaller bed than this. And rooms with cockroaches, sometimes rats. Very unclean rooms. But there's just constant banging. You can hear all the car horns outside. Can't even sleep at night. And just cheap food. Whatever the cheapest food is, that's what I have to get. And with no car, I can barely travel around anywhere. I just pretty much sit in the room all day, every day, working. When I'm not doing a live video, I'm on my laptop. I'm using my microphone, recording. And this is what I do every day. This is pretty much it. Occasionally, if I'm lucky, maybe once a week I can go to the beach and film a live video. But yeah, this is it. This is the life I live now with no support. Someone who worked their ass off after being through a lifetime of abuse and neglect, even sexual abuse as a child, physical violence, and being stolen from on many occasions. And despite that, I could have become evil, I could have become a bad person myself. But despite that, I still sacrificed it all again and again. And it didn't pay off. It didn't help me, and it didn't help anyone. It didn't help the people who tricked me, who stole from me. Even they're not doing well now. Because they don't, people like that. When you do these wrong things in life, it's not going to get you anywhere. And that's why I'm still just trying to do the right thing, no matter what. And I'm hoping that somehow it's going to pay off for me, as it did before. And I guess this time, if it does, I've got to be more careful. If this time somehow my channel begins to blow again, or something new that I start. I mean, I've got some new things that I've been thinking about, things that I want to do, new projects. I'm not the type of person to give up. I'm not the type of person to play the victim and complain. It used to be like that for me. I mean, when I was with my ex-girlfriend, another girl long before, not the one that I had a child with, but there was a girl that I was with many years ago, and while I was with her, I thought she was the one for me. I thought she was my soulmate, as I did with one other girl before her as well. And yeah, I thought we were going to be together for life. But then they got a bit older. They wanted to meet other boys. They thought they were better than me then. And yeah, it was one of the more recent girls. I made my life, my world revolve around her. Everything was about her, not about myself. And then one day she started to pull away a little bit. I started feeling down. So then I bought an Xbox. I got a cat, Nala, as many of you know, that she didn't like, because she wanted me to make my life all about her. And then when I had the Xbox and the cat, she complained about that then. And then she just left me altogether, and she sent me pictures of her with some other guy being on top of her, on top of him. And it just broke me. It tore my world apart. I just felt like, what have I got to live for now? So then I became depressed. And I attempted to take my own life. at the end of 2017. Luckily, I didn't succeed. And since then, well, what happened then, I spoke about in one of my earlier videos. When I tried to take my own life, I had these hallucinations. I was out of it. I was unconscious then. And I had called the ambulance to come in and help me, because a friend of mine told me to do that. So then that's what I did, and then they came in. But then they attacked me. The police and the paramedics of South Wales in the UK, they attacked me. And I've still got the pictures from 2017, the injuries to my face, all over my body. And when I recovered and I went back to my apartment, I asked the security if I could see the CCTV. And it shows them dragging me out by my arms. And with my shoes coming off, my socks, just let me drag on concrete. And then I had all of these bruises and blisters all over my feet and legs. That's how they treated me. And when I got to the hospital, because then they treated me like a criminal, they said that I attacked them. Which didn't make any sense, because I was hallucinating, I was unconscious, I didn't know what was going on. But they were claiming that I attacked them, and then that's why they treated me that way. It didn't really line up with why they were dragging me out by my arms, let my feet drag on concrete. Because I could see in the CCTV, when I requested it from the security, I was not posing any threat to them. I was just out of it. I was unconscious. And that's how they treat an unconscious body. But yeah, when I was in the hospital, I was on a drip feed because I just tried to take my own life. I had to recover then. And they treated me like a criminal. The police surrounded my beds and they were coughing every few minutes or every few seconds the entire night while I was just laying down on the bed on a drip after I tried to take my own life. And they were doing that. They wouldn't let me sleep. And then after that, after I had the treatment, then they threw me in a cell. I was in a cell for a couple of days in South Wales, treated like a criminal. When I didn't do anything wrong, I was depressed, I tried to take my own life. And then they gave me 180 hours of community service. And of course, this was with other boys, and these other boys were not like me. It wasn't something where they were just accused of something they didn't do. And so they all turned against me. They all bullied me. All of them scapegoated me. And I had to deal with that for months after my recovery from suicide, or while I was recovering. I had to go through all of that. With the withdrawals of the overdose that I took from the medications. And this went on for months, 180 hours of community service. But then after that, and actually while I was doing that, I was researching about narcissistic abuse from Sam Wagner's videos while I was doing the community service. And that was at the beginning of 2018 until finally July, August 2018 was when I started to make my first videos. And then after 5 months of work, I got monetized. 5 months of work, 12, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Became super successful on YouTube after years of work. And then again, I met this girl, she destroyed it all. To Thailand, I was targeted by criminals there. And this is what I had to go through. This is what I had to deal with throughout my life. And I've always been the type of person, as an empath, the type of person who just, I want to make other people better. I want to make them happy. And I've always been willing to sacrifice myself for other people, which, of course, now at this point, I know is something we should never do. We should never give more than what people are willing to give to us. I got tricked so many times, I fell for it. I was deceived. And of course, I know at this point, from all the research I've done into psychology, it doesn't get them anywhere. People who do these things, I mean, they do it because they're mentally ill, because they have serious problems. Of course, when you're mentally ill, it's not going to sustain anything. It's not going to result in success. Well, for me, I became very successful, but then being around mentally ill people, naturally, of course, it will cause us a lot of issues. And that's where I am now today, dealing with everything. No savings, no marriage, no wife, no friends, no house, no car, nothing to show for my 7 years of working 12 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nothing to show for any of it. Other than, of course, a pile of debts from the university loans, the debt that piled up over 10 years that was left by my father, and the child support fees. And then also I've got to pay taxes. I've got to pay for an accountant every year. And then there's the fees for my website. I just paid it about $500 subscription for the year for my website, narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also I pay every month about $50 a month for that as well. But now I'm unable to upgrade my equipment, to get the new laptop, to get the new iPhone, a new microphone because mine's broken. So there's all of these things that I'm left to deal with. And yeah, this is it. This is why. This is my story. And why haven't I spoken about this? Why did I mention any of this at the time that I was going through it? I mean, it was very painful for me. Of course, it caused me a lot of pain, a lot of stress. I don't show it because I'm more about healing, growth, moving forwards, not looking back, not living in the past. I'm more focused on making things better. So that's where my mind is. My mind is more focused on how can I correct this, rather than complaining about it, rather than playing the victim. I mean, it's these types of people who do this to you. They're the ones who are going to be complaining about you, playing the victim. They're going to be the ones who are stuck in the past, because they're the problem. Well, as for us, we're just focused on moving forward. And that's what we must continue to do. I mean, I see we got 211 live viewers, 52 thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. If I don't know, if you can relate to what I'm talking about here. Maybe you're going through a similar situation. I mean, this is what I do. I'm a relationship expert. I'm a life coach. I'm an expert on narcissists. So, you know, those of you who are watching this and you can relate to it, maybe you're 35, you're a similar age, you're unmarried, you don't have children yet. I mean, I have one child, I have a daughter. but I haven't seen her for 3 years. And what I've heard is that she has a mental illness now, she has autism. But again, maybe you don't have a job, you don't have any savings. Maybe you're going through something to do with mental health, anxiety, depression. Maybe you're going through things and you don't have what you feel like you should have by now, at this age of your life. And my advice would be to not sob too much about it. Don't complain about it too much. I mean, yes, of course, you've got to have some time to process the emotions, to accept that, yes, you know, this is something that is bothering you, it's upsetting you. You're not happy about it. You want to improve it, you want it to be better. That's very important. The acceptance is the first step to improving and to changing it. So yes, accept your situation. Accept that you desire something more, something better. And then make a plan and figure out how you're going to achieve that. Set objectives, small goals, a gradual process that you can achieve over a certain period of time. Think about where you want to be this time next month, in 6 months, this time next year, so that you can make gradual progress. And maybe observe other people who have something similar to what you want. I mean, of course, it's never going to be exactly the same from your perspective and your experience, but maybe something similar. Look at what they did, the steps they took to achieve that, and model their behavior, model their attitude, their way of doing things, and make it your own. See how it can work for you. So that's how you're going to get there. That's how you're going to improve things. You're not going to improve things by staying stuck, complaining about it, playing the victim. But then at the same time, acceptance is important. Yes, accept. You feel victimized in this situation. You feel trapped, you feel oppressed. You feel like at this point in your life, 35, 40, 45, 50, however old you may be, and you're unmarried, you don't have kids. Maybe you don't have a house, you don't have savings. Yes, that can cause you to feel victimized, to feel oppressed. Because you should have those things by now. But then also in some cases, it may just happen later at life. You may be a late bloomer. It may take longer for you to grow, to mature, to achieve the things that you want. I mean, especially with the way that the world is today. So many people in this world are suffering. So many people are going through tough times. So don't think that it's only you. Yes, it can feel that way sometimes when you're looking on social media, you're comparing your life to everyone else's. Of course, when you go in there, typically what you see is everyone living their best lives, everyone having a good time. But a lot of that, it's all fake. It's not real. Dr. Ramani, a psychologist and an expert on narcissistic abuse, has said in one of her videos, the better a relationship looks on social media, the more toxic it is likely to be in real life. And that's usually how it is. It may look wonderful on social media, but in real life it may not be that good at all. It may look like someone's got a nice big house, but what you don't know is that maybe they're renting it. Maybe they just rented it for a weekend and then they posted it up, making it seem like that's where they're living for life. Or maybe they got a mortgage that they're paying off for the next 50 years. Same thing with a car. So you never know how things really are for people. I mean, I've seen statistics, 96% of families in the world are dysfunctional. The two most common illnesses are mental illnesses, anxiety and depression. 1 in 6 people are narcissists, maybe 1 in 5 in cities. I've seen all sorts of things. So, I mean, what this really gives is FOMO, fear of missing out. When we feel like we're at a certain age and we should be somewhere else, we should be progressing more. We just feel anxiety, fear, that we should be somewhere else, that we should be doing more, having more. And that's all that there is. It's important to find peace within yourself first. Because that peace, that stability, will help you to create stability in your external environment. I mean, think about it. If you've got all of this anxiety, all of this pain, this trauma in your mind, how can you produce anything that's going to be stable, good in the external world? It starts with your mind first. Stabilize your mind. Relieve your stress, your anxiety. So that's my advice for you. For those of you who are going through this, I mean, that's the most important thing, is to stay positive, optimistic. I do believe in the law of attraction, manifestation, spirituality. I was researching all of this stuff before I became successful. But somehow it seems that I manifested some of the wrong things. People who wanted me, but they weren't any good for me. They were seeking a sense of stability from me. And that's just it. We need to be around people who are more stable, more peaceful, more calm. Because if their minds are out of whack, what sense of stability or calm are they going to bring to your life? If a person has an unstable mind, unstable emotions, they're just going to destroy everything. So that's an important thing that we need to observe in people. Can they regulate their own emotions? Are they mentally stable, logical, reasonable, rather than being over-emotional? All things to pay attention to. So yeah, that's my story. It's not my entire story, of course. I can't tell it all in just 1 hour. But some of the highlights of things that I had to go through. And I'm not saying that it was all bad, of course. There were some things, some memories that I do have. Some good times. But unfortunately, a large percentage of it was bad. And the parts that were bad were really bad, as I've spoken about. But yeah, this is what has led me to where I am today. From where I was once doing very well, where I travelled to every city in the entire United Kingdom other than Brighton and Norwich, where I was able to pay over $1,000 a month just on fuel, car fuel, to do all of the travelling in expensive cars, supercars. staying in villas, 5-star hotels, even staying in this 4-star hotel in the Lake District over Christmas. Stayed in a suite there that cost well over £3,000 just for a few nights over Christmas. And then from there, drive in over 11 hours to go to Cornwall in a brand new Mercedes GLE 400 AMG. Driving 11 hours from the Lake District to Cornwall for New Year's to stay in a 5-star hotel, the same one that Prince Charles and Camilla stayed at many times. I went from living that life to then everything being ripped apart. From being around the wrong people, mentally ill, emotionally unstable. People with those types of minds, they can't build anything. They can only destroy. Again, let me hear from you now. I've talked about my story. Let me know your story. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here for you. This is what I do. Let me know in the live chat. I will read it out and respond to you. And if you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up. I'm seeing we've got 197 live viewers, but we've only got 72 thumbs up, so that's not even half. So please show your support if you're finding this video helpful. And yeah, let me know in the live chat your story, your questions. Let's talk about it. Linda Mack says, your story was hard to listen to, but thanks for telling us. Yeah, it was quite hard for me as well to say it, to talk about it. You know, especially things where we're talking about child sexual abuse, which of course is what I had to endure, it's what I had to go through as a child. I mean, things like that. It's horrific that these things still happen in this world today. But I think it's good to talk about it. It's good to express it. It's good to accept the reality for what it is. Eddie Wen says, I wish I heard your story, Chris. I was late, sorry. That's all right, Ellie. At this point, you know, I've done a lot of the inner work. I've done the growth that I needed to. At least internally, despite all of the chaos surrounding me. So, yeah, the story is more for you. It's more to help you. It's to give you the closure, the clarity, the understanding that you need. Z Bell says, please anchor in universal law of divine recompensation and intervention. Very interesting concepts there. Yes, of course, I do believe in divine powers, and people have known about this for a very long time. It's only now that science is beginning to catch up with this, where scientists are now beginning to believe in these higher dimensions, the multiverse, and just so many other concepts which are now becoming scientific theories. So this is the way that science is going. And yeah, the energy that people put out, that will be returning back to them in some way, in some sort of way, in this life and in the next life. This is going to happen, and there is no getting away from it. This is why no matter what, I don't let that happen to me. I don't let myself become like them, because nothing good is going to come out of that. Never sell your soul. Always be real. Always be authentic. Always have good intentions for people, because it will come back to you. It's not worth it. But if you do good deeds, if you take care of other people, if you give love to everyone, that love will come back to you. It may not come back immediately, but just give it time, it will come back. And not only will it come back in this life, it will come back in the next. And of course, the way that I'm talking about now is quite simplistic. But if you look deeper into it, you do the research, you will see that this is the absolute truth. These spiritual theories and beliefs, it's all real. And science is beginning to uncover this now. Keith Ibbotson says, do you have any tips on stopping toxic smear campaigns? Well, Sam Franklin did a video about gang stalking and how gang stalking is real, which is similar to smear campaigns. I did a video on that a few days ago. That's an excellent one to watch. And yeah, I've been through many smear campaigns. I've been through gang stalking as well since 2016, every day. I've been through gang stalking since I think it was 2012 where it initially began, or 2011. And this was more being followed around, and they took pictures of me, stalking me, created a parody Twitter page of me, which is still on the internet even to this day. As for stopping smear campaigns, the best thing that you can do is maintain your boundaries. Try to have a support network and just stay as far away from them as you possibly can. Because the whole point of the smear campaign is that it wants to grow. It's like a virus, bacteria. Of course, for it to grow, it needs food. Just like the narcissistic personality disorder. That's why they have the grandiosity, the arrogance, the sense of entitlement, the self-absorption, the lack of empathy. Because they have an excessive need for admiration. An excessive need for nourishment and sustenance. That's the whole point of it. Because they're seeking something from you. So don't give it. Use the grey rock. Observe, don't absorb. Don't feed into it. Don't give the food that it needs for it to grow. But you don't really need to do anything. You don't need to intervene because, as you said, it's toxic. If it's toxic, then it's not going to grow successfully. It's not going to result in anything good for them. It's going to end up destroying them because it's toxic, it's harmful, it's negative, it's not good. And this is how I actually did a video about 1 year ago. It's titled, "The Smear Campaign Will Destroy the Narcissist and Their Fly Monkeys." And it even includes clinical research, clinical studies, statistics to support it. Because this is real. And Sam Vaknin even mentioned in his video a few days ago, gang stalkers are mentally ill. They're narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths. There is something seriously wrong with them. They live in a fantasy world. They're not connected to reality. And I've spoken about this so many times in my videos, long before he mentioned it in that one. I've mentioned it in many of my gang stalker videos, and my videos about narcissists from the very beginning, years ago. Because it's the truth. We are real, we are genuine, we exist. They're fake, they don't even exist. Because they manipulate, they deceive, they steal, they lie. They're mentally ill. And that's why they need us, that's why they can't leave us alone. That's why they hoover us, they gang stalk us, they harass us. Because they need the light, they need something real. They need something authentic. It's their food, their sustenance. And because they're all mentally ill, they're all fake, they're all the same, because of that, that's why they need a target. That's why they need us. Until eventually, sometimes, the target becomes one of them. Yes, this is what happens, and I've heard stories about it. Where targeted individuals, victims of smear campaigns, eventually, they join the group. They're invited to join and to target someone else. Now, you won't get that opportunity if they know you're not that type of person to do that to someone. But it does happen. I've seen reports about it, where the targeted individual is given an opportunity, an option to come out of the program, to come out of the smear campaign by helping and by selling their souls to then go off and target someone else. And this is how you may notice that actually many of them, if not all of them, they're all victims themselves of abuse, of childhood abuse, bullying, and also maybe of smear campaigns and gang stalking themselves. The very people who are targeting you. My advice is to never join them, never sell your soul. I could never do what they do. I could never target people. I could never intimidate them. I could never harass them. But that's just it. I'm not mentally ill. I don't have a disorder. I have a sound mind. I'm mentally and emotionally stable, and of course, that's how I'm a target. If you have a stable, sound mind, then you will be a target. Because they don't, and they're seeking a sense of stability because their minds are messed up. Their minds are all over the place. They can't even control their own minds, their own thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors. So they get that sense of stability from you. And then that's how you, as the target, you end up looking crazy because they have to destabilize you to get that from you. To where you may end up developing schizophrenic symptoms. or you may develop addictions on drugs or alcohol, coping mechanisms. And then that's how it's easy for them to paint you as the villain and to justify them further blaming and punishing you. But yeah, this is how it is. I know it's quite noisy here. In this video, you could probably hear the banging from the wall, or the car horns outside, or the screaming. This is how it is now. But the people that I've been involved with, I'm living in very poor areas, living around absolute losers, people with no purpose, no motivation in their lives, and they're not even seeking genuine support. They're not even trying to be better. And these are the types of people that I'm around now. When initially, I was in private school my entire life. I was around highly successful, high status people, celebrities. 3 Premier League football managers lived on our street of 6 houses. I grew up in multi-million pound mansions. My father had a business. He was a millionaire before I was even born 35 years ago. And now he's a property developer. He has about 20 properties. I think it's about 60,000 square feet worth of properties. But yeah, now I'm stuck around absolute losers, lowlifes, mentally ill. And funny enough, that's where I was before. That's where I was 6-7 years ago, until I worked very hard and got myself out of it. And now I'm back in it again. This is what happens when you invite these types of people into your life. Because they're not like us, they're not trying to learn, they're not trying to grow. They're seeking supply, they're seeking benefits out of you without having anything to give back to you in return, because they're lowlifes. They're scroungers, leeches, parasites. C. Bell says every master was once a disaster. Very true, of course. We all have to do the work. We all have to learn. We all have to grow. None of us are born perfect with everything that we need to be. Of course, it's life is a lesson. It takes time for us to grow. So don't hold yourself to such unrealistic high expectations. Recognize that it will take time for you, especially with the way that the world is today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't subscribed yet, and click all notifications so that you will be notified when I upload new videos, because I do go live every day, and I've always got a lot of information to share in each video. I talk mostly about narcissists, mental illnesses, relationships, spirituality, chosen ones, gang stalking, all of that stuff. So definitely hit the subscribe button, click all notifications. That way you will be notified when I upload new videos and when I go live again. People are talking about Sam Vaknin's gang stalking video. Yeah, I think it's already got over 25,000 views. I think I did a gang stalking video. It got over 100,000 views. I've done a few videos on that already. So a lot of people are going through this. I mean, technically, everyone is being gang stalked by governments and large companies. I mean, there isn't really any such thing as someone who isn't a targeted individual. But what we're talking about is very intense. Keith Ibbotson says, I didn't know about gang stalking, but was even wrongly accused of stalking someone in the UK. Predicted when it would happen, so I was in Germany at the time. No, I know, sometimes it can happen. You don't realize that you're stalking someone. Or maybe you don't see it that way. And that happened to me before as well. One of the first girls that I ever dated, she was a police officer in South Wales in the UK. And we met up a few times. She first saw me because she was working in a bakery near to my house, and I used to jog past there several days a week. And then she messaged me on Facebook. She told me she would always see me jogging and she wanted to meet up with me. So I met her, I thought it was innocent. We went clubbing together and we slept together a few times. And then somehow I found out, because I had two Facebook accounts at the time. And on the Facebook account that she messaged me on, everything seemed normal. But then I looked at her account from my other Facebook account, and then I saw it says she's engaged in a relationship status, and it had the guy's name there. This girl that had found me, and I was meeting, and I slept with many times. And then I went onto the guy's page. I didn't message him directly because I thought, this could cause a lot of trouble. So instead I messaged his brother and I just told him everything about what happened. And I was completely innocent. I didn't know anything about it. And it turns out they were together. I mean, at the time I was 22, she was 18. She was with this guy since she was 14 for 4 years. They were engaged, about to get married. And she was the first girl he had ever met. And he was the first guy she had ever met. They were both virgins, about to get married, and he was in the RAF. She was a police officer. I didn't know anything about it. But it turns out, according to her, he cheated on her. So then she wanted to get revenge, and she used me to get revenge. There was also some other guy, and I looked up his profile as well, who she was thinking about targeting for this role. And yeah, he seemed a lot bigger than me. He was a lot more muscular. But yeah, it was very traumatizing for me to come in between that and not know anything about it, which is why I dealt with it the way I did. And of course, the guy's brother was understanding. He told me I did the right thing by telling him, and he believed in me, he trusted me. But then I received a phone call again from the police. The police are always coming after me, and I'm not even doing anything wrong. But they called me and they dragged me into the police station, and they said that this girl is saying that I'm harassing her. And they gave me a warning then, and they told me never to contact her again. And I thought, this is crazy, because she's the one who saw me jogging past the bakery, and then she messaged me on Facebook without telling me that she was engaged and about to get married. And all I did was just tell her fiance's brother the truth, that she was cheating on him and sleeping with me behind his back. But the police didn't care about that. They were just saying that I'm harassing her, which I thought was really strange. And then a certain amount of time went by, and then she contacted me again. But yeah, this is how it goes. This is what these types of people do. They target people who are innocent and aware, they don't know what's going on. And then when you start to figure them out, when you start to gain intel, awareness, then they use other people. Then they smear you, they triangulate you. They even get the police on you, try to get you arrested, get you into trouble, discredit you, ruin your reputation. They do all of this stuff and you don't even know what's going on. This is why you've got to be very careful. And this is why so many people in this world are fake. So many successful, attractive people, they're just fraudsters. Miss Carter Love says, you're such a great person. You've helped countless people survive abuse. I love all your videos and authenticity and integrity. Thank you for that, Miss Carter Love. I just wanted to share my experiences in this one because, yeah, I thought it could be helpful for many of you. And I've seen other people posting these videos talking about how they're a certain age, they're unmarried, single, no friends, no job, no house. So I thought I would chime in on this one. But this is what I've noticed, when I go in these videos and I see these men who post these videos with similar titles, they all just seem like good, genuine people. They seem like nice guys. It doesn't appear to be anything wrong with them most of the time. So it's really sad that it just shows how society really lets good people down. And yet you see a lot of these people, con artists, becoming successful, destroying people's lives. Because it's like society encourages this. It encourages this type of behavior. But I think they treat us this way because they know they don't deserve us. They don't deserve to be around someone like us, and that's why they treat us the way they do. That's why they misuse us. But yeah, that's my story, that's my personal experience. Of course, it's not my entire life story in such a short video, but it's some of the highlights of the negative things I had to go through. The trauma, the abuse, the exploitation. So, my story, my current situation, how things are for me now. And yeah, I'm just working every day. For 12 hours a day, I'm doing as much work as I can to try and make things better. I'm exploring different avenues to see what I can do. Because even though I never wanted to have a child in the first place, but now that I have one, and even though maybe she is mentally ill, maybe she does have autism, regardless, I don't just give up on my own children. So yeah, I'm going to keep putting in the work. I'm going to keep helping people. I'm going to think twice before I trust someone else again. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to try and provide what I can for my daughter, and also take care of myself better this time. And hopefully I can get better equipment. I can make even better videos for you. And yeah, that's just what I'm trying to do. So I think a lot of you like to hear about my personal experiences. I mean, it seems that this video has been more popular than usual. So who knows, maybe I will do a regular video. Maybe I'll start journaling. I'll start writing down my experiences, and then every so often I'll do a video about my personal experiences, what I'm going through throughout the week. Maybe I could do that. Let's see how this video goes. Because so far it seems like it's doing quite well. It seems that there is a demand for this. I'm not normally one to overly talk about myself so much. I mean, I like to keep everything inside because then I can deal with it myself instead of depending on someone else. But if there's a demand for this, then maybe I could produce more of this type of content. So yeah, definitely give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe, click all notifications so that you will be notified, because I might make more videos like this very soon. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. And you know about my situation now, what I'm going through. So if you'd like to show your support to our community, you're welcome to donate. Just head to my PayPal. It's paypal.me/Narc Survivor. And I appreciate all donations, no matter how small. If you'd like to book a one-on-one coaching session, I am available for you. Just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And follow me on Instagram. It's Narc Survivor YouTube. Lots more content on there. All right, thank you all for joining me on this very special video about my personal experiences. Something very different, but it seems that it was well received. Thank you for your support. And I'll talk to you in another one very soon.